Cabinet has decided today that vaccinations will be mandated for everyone who works in any workplace where a vaccine certificate is required for entry. In the new COVID-19 protection framework, this includes hospitality, events, gyms, and close proximity businesses such as hairdressers and barbers. The timing of this coming into force will depend on when we move to the COVID-19 protection framework. We'll continue to work through the detail with businesses and unions to ensure we get the balance right, and Minister Wood will have more to say on that shortly. This requirement means staff and customers are treated equally, and it will play a big part in helping to minimise the spread of the virus in the highest risk venues by reducing the potential for COVID to enter the business in the first place, and further supports our businesses in their economic recovery. With the new traffic light system, businesses that we previously treated as high risk, like hospitality, hairdressers and gyms, can operate at all levels if they ask customers for a vaccine certificate. And so it follows that if customers must be vaccinated, then so too must the workers. We want workplaces open, customers safe, and workers safe too. In recent weeks, the government has been engaging with Business New Zealand and the Council of Trade Unions on this issue, and the clear message we have heard is that businesses, large and small, want a clear legal framework on the issue of vaccines and vaccine mandates. They want certainty and simplicity, and we're answering that call.
I encourage workers in these industries who are not yet vaccinated to please get your first vaccination. Some businesses have already done a risk assessment to require some or all of their workers to be vaccinated. But businesses and unions are asking for more certainty and clarity, and employers sometimes are concerned that their decisions might be legally challenged. We intend to change the law to introduce a clear and simplified risk assessment process for employers to follow when deciding whether they can require vaccination for different types of work. It'll cover simple factors like who workers interact with during their work days and how close that contact is. We intend to make it very clear and simple for employers to apply. This risk assessment is based on the guidance provided by WorkSafe, with input from public health officials, business representatives and unions. Just like with health and safety assessments, employers will have to consult workers and their representatives when using this risk assessment process. This process won't override risk assessments that businesses have already done under the existing health and safety guidelines. It'll be about how we move forward. Employers will continue to be able to exempt any workers from a vaccination requirement they introduce. We will suggest that people who cannot be vaccinated for medical reasons should be exempt, noting that that is a very small number of New Zealanders, unless their work is so high risk that this is not safe. Some overseas markets may prevent access due to COVID-19 related issues in export food production premises. Such barriers have the potential to affect our trade, which is vital for our economic recovery. To help protect our economic recovery, we have therefore also agreed to allow vaccination to be required if it is necessary to facilitate access for New Zealand products to specific overseas markets. More information about this will be available from the Ministry for Primary Industries in the coming weeks. We do know that these changes will raise questions around what happens when mandated employees do refuse to get vaccinated. To provide clarity, a new 4-week notice period will apply if people are terminated, if and when they choose not to be vaccinated and their work requires it. We're expecting many more employers to require vaccination for work in their businesses. This law change will require a minimum of 4 weeks paid notice for any employee who loses their job because they are not vaccinated. Most employees will have notice periods in their employment agreement already, but this will create a basic minimum. The change will only apply to employees who do not have a notice period, or if that period is shorter than 4 weeks. This will effectively be the start of a countdown. Once the notice period commences, the employee will have that amount of time to get vaccinated. Provided it is reasonable to do so, the employee will be able to retain their employment if they get vaccinated in that period, but their employment will be terminated if they do not. Other aspects of employment law will not change, and employers and employees will continue to both need to behave in good faith. We know that some workers can find it difficult to find the time that they need to get vaccinated, as they might have childcare duties, shift work, or other complications. To make sure that there are as many opportunities as possible for workers to get vaccinated, we're also going to require employers to provide paid time off for workers to get vaccinated. We know that most employers have already been doing this and are taking steps to support the employees, for example, by providing transportation to vaccination centres. This change will ensure that all employees can get vaccinated during work hours, removing a potential barrier and helping employers to raise vaccination coverage in their workplaces. Employers will also be required to keep records about employees' vaccination status. MB will work this issue through with the Office of the Privacy Commissioner in the coming weeks to provide practical guidance on how to make sure that workers' records are handled appropriately. We know that there are questions around enforcement as well, so we're also providing more funding for WorkSafe to undertake its COVID-19 compliance role. Cabinet today agreed to provide funding of $4.4 million for WorkSafe to enable them to extend their current COVID-19 activity to undertake more proactive work using a mix of education, engagement and enforcement where necessary. We understand the urgency of moving forward and will be introducing legislation to bring these changes forward in the very near future. We will pass the legislation as a priority to give workplaces and workers the certainty they need, because vaccination is one of the best tools to reduce the risk of COVID-19 transmission in workplaces and in our communities.